suppress your immune system and give you things. What else it does? It will cause anxiety, depression. It will cause mental and emotional effects as impaired judgment, difficulty to think rationally or logical, and long-term terms are chronic headaches, migraines, and anxiety disorders, and depression. Now, since we all deal with fears consistently all during our lifespan, as page 9 said, we read, dealing with fear correctly is essential for a well-balanced life. So, I think I'd like to go next into a couple things that are biblical statements that help us to deal with fear. And there may be more. These are just the ones that I thought of. Number one, we need to acknowledge the fear. Accept the fear as you're attacked. Now, don't try to cover it up, because covering your fear up, as you know, is not an option, right? You can't cover up fear, because it will continue and continue to crop up if you do not deal with it. So, first question, I'm going to deal with fear. Wonder where fear comes from. God is not the author of fear. God does not send this type of fear into our lives as an attack on us. So our fear does come from Satan, and he will use it. Matter of fact, there's a verse that we're going to look at in Ephesians. No, I'll look at it later. I think it's the one in Philippians. But right after it says not to be anxious for anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication, let your requests known unto God. The very next verse says, for the devil, as a roaring lion, walks about, seeking whom he may devour. So, I mean, right there together is the anxiety and the fear. Number two, identify the root cause of your fear. Sometimes that might be a little bit difficult to do because you're so wrapped up in fear you really don't know. But that's a next step to take, to identify that root cause. Then number three, talk about it. Perhaps to a person, but most certainly talk about it to God. Okay? Number four, I have ask for help to replace anxiety with, what's the title of our lesson? Courage. Okay, so ask for help to replace anxiety with courage. Number five is learn to trust God because of who he is. He's the only perfect solution. And I have harped on that because it has changed my life over the past 20 years. To really get a sense of who God is. He's faithful, he's loving, he's just. All of these, he's righteous. All of these, when you talk about who God is, then you know that you can trust him because he has the only perfect solution. Number six is meditate on scriptures about fear. And I do that real often. A lot of times before I go to sleep, there are like 3 or 4 verses that I just quote there. Come to God and let your requests be known unto him. And then it goes on to say, and the peace of God that passes all understanding will keep your hearts and your minds through Christ Jesus our Lord. 1 Peter 5:7, one that you all probably know, is cast all of your cares upon him, for he cares upon you. Isaiah 26:3 is one of my favorites. Thou would keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on him, because he trusts in him. Because you trust in the Lord. John 14:27, another one. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. What? Not like the world gives, give I to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Yes. Okay. We've got several verses like that. So then number 7, I said focus on God's presence and his power. Focus on. Now, I have also a verse written down for that. Isaiah 41:10. Isaiah was at the point where he was deeply concerned, whether he was fearing the incoming captivity. But here's what he wrote. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I'm your God. I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And then down in verse 13 of that same chapter, for I am the Lord your God, and I will take you by my right hand and say to you, do not fear, I will help you. So we replace our thoughts with verses such as this. It has a very therapeutic way to ease your fears and your doubts. So replace anxious thoughts with God's promises. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God does not give us a spirit of fear, but of love and a sound mind. Number 9, I just simply said move forward. And you may have to move forward from that fear today, and again tomorrow, and again the next day, and the next day. But you just keep moving forward until your faith just begins to grow and grow and grow and grow. So we all have these fears, and we all have to address them, and we all have to move forward. Joshua 1:9 is a favorite of mine. Have I not commanded you? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Do not even be dismayed, for I, the Lord God, is going to go with you wherever you go. Okay. Now, I had some verses that I'm just going to read from the book of Psalms, which is Psalms is a wonderful. I love the book. And sometimes I think now at my spiritual state, if I was only allowed to have one book out of the Bible, I think that it might be the book of Psalms. I learned so much from the book of Psalms because David went through so much. While David was being haunted down and hunted by King Saul, and the whole FBI, the CIA, everybody was after him, he faced so many fearing positions where he even got afraid. He ran and hid. He questioned God, what's going on here? And I picked a couple verses. Psalms 56:3. Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you. Wow. The kids in Good News Club sing a little song like that, and it's to memorize that verse. Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you. Trust in you. Trust in you. Whenever I am afraid, we make motions with them. I will trust. Don't wait, Savannah. I didn't see you back there. I will trust in you. Do you remember that song? Yeah, so we will trust in him whenever we're afraid. Psalm 34:4, I sought the Lord, and he delivered me from all my fears. The actual word fears, and one that you all know, Psalm 23:4. Yea, though I walk even through the valley of death. What? I will fear no evil. For why? Because you are with me. Okay. Zach Williams, I don't know how many of you listened to K-Love, some years ago wrote a song about fear. And he titled it, Fear, He is a Liar. Because after taking different descriptions of problems that people go through in his song, he said the fear comes from the devil, and that fear is a liar. And the chorus says, it will take your breath, it will stop you in your steps, because fear, he is a liar. He will rob you your rest, steal your happiness. Cast your fear into the fire, because fear, he is a liar. Well, our lesson today, page 11, talks about some fear that the disciples had and how they dealt with it. And it's a familiar story. Page 11, I think for the sake of time, again, I am going to read this lesson. It says, immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side. Now, if you look into the Greek, I'm told that word made the disciples is a very strong word. He commanded them. Because at this point, remember I told you the people were probably going to try to make him a king. And the disciples also were probably right in there with them, making them a king. And so he actually commanded the disciples to get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowds. And after dismissing the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. You know, you would think, why does Jesus need to pray, right? But he needs prayer, and he needed at this time, and I don't know what, it doesn't even tell us what he prayed about, but sometimes I think he needed to talk to his Father about the plans that he just heard, what he had just heard about John the Baptist. He was sort of gripped with emotions at this point. Emotion of the crowds, he was tired, he was weary, he wanted time alone. And so with all these problems and decisions that he had, he said, the only place I can go is go to the Lord. And that should be an example to us too. When we have encompassed about with problems and tired, and I know you've all been there, just leave me alone, right? Leave me alone. I just want to go sit in a quiet place for a while. Well, that's good to relax yourself, but we first should go to God, right? And that's what Jesus did. He sets a perfect example. Well, while he was in the mountains, he said, here's what happened in verse 24. While he was in the mountains praying, or while he was alone with God, meanwhile, do you know what the disciples were doing? The disciples were struggling. They were struggling. They were fighting a force that was beyond their control. And they were plagued literally with anxiety, plagued with fear. They didn't know what to do, because it says, meanwhile, the boat was already distant from the land, being battered by the winds and the waves, because the wind was against them. Battered actually means being repeated with hard blows. So you can kind of imagine the situation there of the 12 disciples in the boat being battered constantly and tossed about with the high winds and the waves. And after thinking about that for some time and kind of trying to see what that was like, here's another picture I got. Not only was there anxiety and fear on that boat, I have a feeling there was a little bit of disagreement on that boat. Why do I say that? You've got 12 people on the boat. You've got 4 experienced fishermen. You've got 1 tax collector. You've got one, Simon the Zealot, who was a revolutionist and was an enthusiast. You got Judas, a treasurer. And the others were equated with being skilled workers. What do you think went on in that boat, huh? Who would they listen to? Who had opinions? I could just see someone, John or the fisherman, say, would you just sit down and be quiet and let us take care of it? We're fishermen. We're used to this. So well, what was the phenomenal thing happen? Verse 25, Jesus came toward them walking on the sea very early in the morning. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. The fishermen too? Yeah, they were all terrified. If this isn't bad enough, this disagreement on the boats and everybody having their opinion, or whether we're going to die or whether we're going to live, or how are we going to bring the boat into control, if that isn't bad enough, then they see what they say is a ghost walking on the water. And I think at this point they finally all agreed. We're terrified. We all are terrified. And so they said, it's a ghost, they cried out in fear. But then immediately Jesus spoke to them. He said, and this is the verse that you're supposed to memorize for this lesson. Have courage. It is I. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. There was a song, again, by Third Day that they made out of, it's a wonderful song. I read it all. But if you can't memorize that verse, it's not hard. Don't be afraid. It's I, don't be afraid. Be of good courage, or whatever, put in the right. Have courage. It is I, don't be afraid. After singing about all the different things that people could fear in their life, or the things that came to them, the chorus I love. After every verse, it's the same chorus. It tells that person that's experiencing those difficulties what to do. Anybody know that one? He simply say, cry out to Jesus. Cry out to Jesus. So if you can't memorize, hear it again, have courage, it is I, don't be afraid, at least remember. What are you going to remember? Cry out to Jesus. And that's what that. So immediately cry out to Jesus because he has the answer. Now I want to show you something else that your book will talk about. And oh boy, this is going to have to be fast. When Jesus said, it is I. Now some of you women who came to Bible study, in our last book we studied about, well, it wasn't the last one, it was time before last. We studied the 7 I am statements in the book of John. And every I am statement, when Jesus said, I am the vine, I am the branch, or I am the vine, I am the good shepherd, I am the resurrection and the life, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, I'm the bread of life, I'm the living water. All the I am statements in there, when you take it and go into the Greek, it is the word ego, and I think he has it here on your book somewhere, on page, page 13 of your book. It is the word ego, eimi, I-E-M-I. And when you take that and transliterate that into Hebrew, and you go back to the very, very first I am statement that God made in Exodus chapter 34, verse 14, you know what it's going to say? It's going to say, I am that I am. Do you remember the occasion when Moses said, if I go and tell these people that you sent me to deliver them, well, who can I say sent me? And God responded, I am that I am. That's good enough. I am. And when Jesus is now using these statements in Greek or Aramaic, the people understood exactly what he was saying. Don't kid yourself. You read the I am statements in John, and when he said, I am the bread of the world, I am the light of the world, they sought him and wanted to kill him because he is claiming to be God. That's the same word. And this is the same word that he's now saying to his disciples. He's saying, don't be afraid of this terrible circumstances that are facing you. Yeah, they're bad. Don't be afraid because I am. It's not just Jesus, the man, that's here, but I am here. I am God. And I think, we don't have time to go into what I was wanting to, but I think in this section we so completely see the divine nature of Jesus as well as the human side. You know, God is fully man, God is fully God, or Jesus is fully God. Jesus is fully man and fully God. We see Jesus as a man. What did he do? He got tired. He got weary. He was emotional over the events that were happening. He was emotional over people wanting to make him a king. He was tired. He was weary. He was hungry. Which in the book of Hebrews, chapter 4, it tells us simply this, that we don't have a high priest, Jesus, who can't be touched with the feelings of our infirmities. Or in other words, he can't sympathize with us. He doesn't know what we're going through. No, because he, being fully man, has experienced everything that we will experience, if not have experienced already. He is fully man. But then, come walking on the water, he says, don't be afraid, take courage. It's I, it's God. So we see here this complex division of God, Jesus being fully God, and Jesus being fully man. Very hard to separate, but he was both, and we see it here. We saw him being tired, we saw him being hungry, and then we see him saying, don't be afraid, it's I. I am that I am, walking on the water to you. Okay, real quickly, I'm just going to read the rest of this. Lord, if it's you, Peter answered, command me to come to you on the water. He said, come. And climbing out of the boat, Peter started walking on the water and came toward Jesus. Now that is amazing. If you were on that boat and you saw what appeared to be a ghost walking on the water, and that person said, come, how many of us would jump right out of the boat? Well, I don't think I would. I'd have a whole bunch of other questions, right? But Peter had enough faith to say, if it's my Lord, if it's my God, then I'm coming. So he got out and he started walking on the water. He came toward Jesus. But when he saw the strength of the wind, when he felt the strength, when he saw the waves, he became afraid. That's a human response, isn't it? That is a human response. Okay, I'm mounting through this fearful time. And God, I'm going to trust you. And I say to my people in church, I'm going to trust you. I trust you with everything. And then we go home, and the circumstances or the events of that life starts showing its ugly face. And we think, well, hey, this situation's impossible, right? I can't get out of it. So when we start looking at the circumstances and the what ifs, we also begin to sink. But when you begin to sink, and you will, reach out. Jesus is reaching out to you. So when he was beginning to sink, he was afraid. He cried out, Lord, save me. What? Cry out to who? Cry out to Jesus. Okay, I'm going to read immediately, page 15. Immediately Jesus reached out his hand, caught hold of him, and said to him, you of little faith. And I don't think that was too sarcastic by Jesus. And I don't think that was a put down. Because I think we all can admire Peter, right, for having a little bit of faith when we probably wouldn't. So he caught him and he said, you of little faith, why did you doubt? And then Jesus got into the boat with them, and immediately the wind ceased. It was so traumatic of an experience that those in the boat all bowed down and they said, and this is probably at the height of Jesus' ministry. He's already told the disciples a lot, but he has a whole bunch more to teach them. So if we're here, they bowed down, and this was a visual example, a visual claim that Jesus, they said, truly, you are the Son of God. Wow, the Son of God. When Jesus asked Peter, why did you doubt? What he was really saying, why do you have a double mind? The Bible tells us that a man with a double mind is unstable in all his ways. What was that double mind? It was a double mind that you had faith to step out, and now you doubt. Right? And you begin to sink. So he says, don't doubt. Don't have a double mind. And that is the challenge for every one of us, because we have fears and we say, God, I'm going to trust you through anything. Or something, he answers a prayer. Okay, God gives me enough faith that I'm going to trust you with everything from here on out. Wow, that doesn't take long to sink, does it? So we keep reminding ourselves time after time again, when we begin to sink, cry out to Jesus. Because he immediately is there to take your hand and lift you and help you. Well, they got into the boat and the wind ceased. We can trust Jesus to walk through the storms of the life. And Samantha back there, I'm going to quote our Bible verse that we're studying for this week. Do you remember what it is? Ephesians 6:10, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might, right? We're teaching the kids that verse. So that's what a verse for us. Be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. The choir even sings a song like that sometimes. Be strong in the Lord. And then the end says, for the victory is yours when you call on his name. So that's our lesson today. It's a hard lesson to follow, and easy to understand, right? Thank you.